Hello and welcome to Sin and Steel. I'm your host, Sarah-Tonin, and today we're joined by someone who some of my viewers may be familiar with, a nice familiar face for you all, producer, video creator, guitarist, and I mean really multi-instrumentalist, Richard or Rick Grimm. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So you are a man of many projects, including Bentham's Head, Dracorex, the Dreamworm, and what we're mostly here to chat about today is, of course, Greyember. But before we do, I'd love for you to elaborate a little on your various projects and just tell us more about yourself as an artist and the variation of work you do.
Fuck, I don't actually know how to put it. It's
All right.
yeah, just there's just too many ideas and not enough hours to let them all out, you know?
Yeah.
So I think each project is like a different opportunity to come up with something new because like every time you collaborate with someone, like the things you have in common, it's like the things you have in common are slightly different. It's like when you've got you've got different friend groups where you're like, oh, these friends over here really like D&D, but these friends over here really like sport, and these friends over here are like super into cinema, that kind of thing. It's like that, but just for music. So it's like these friends really like more funky stuff, and these guys really like blast beats, and these guys really like guitar solos or whatever.
Yeah.
And I like all of that shit, but but they don't all like that.
Yeah.
So each group's like just a different space to sort of throw ideas back and forwards. And something that might be a good idea for one group won't necessarily be a good idea for another. So whereas the solo stuff is kind of just stuff that's like it's either too personal for me to feel like I can really share it creatively with other people, or it's like a hodgepodge of stuff that's like, this doesn't really have like a home, but like I could just release it myself, and then like who's gonna stop me?
Yeah. No, that's great. I guess so. You, like we're saying, you're exploring all these different styles of music throughout these different projects. And then you also do your busking and you've got covers and things like that on top of that. So it's such a wide range of music that you play. Is there a particular style that you enjoy playing most, or somewhere that you draw the most musical inspiration from?
Yeah, I definitely think like the deathier side of prog and like melodic death metal are probably like probably my favorites, with like a close runner up being like the more atmospheric black metal that comes out. So I like stuff that's like got a melody I can hum afterward. Like after I listen to the song, like something that I can kind of hum afterwards. Doesn't necessarily need to be a vocal melody. Usually it is a guitar melody because like I'm a guitarist primarily. So like that's what excites me the most. But
what do they call it? An earworm? Something that'll stick in there and
yeah, definitely. But also songs that have like, if they don't have like a catchy like earworm thing, like something that has like a really defined atmosphere. So which is where I think like prog or some elements of black metal really excel.
Yeah, awesome. And out of curiosity, how long have you been like playing and creating music for, and what kind of piqued your interest in the first place?
Since I was a teenager, I started as a teenager. Me and a group of mates that I went to high school with were like really into skateboarding, and there was like a big crossover between like our local punk scene and skating, and they kind of introduced us to like our friends in general, like to heavier music. And then this one cousin, I've got this one cousin, shout out Brendan, who like between him and my older brother like just had like heaps of metal CDs lying around. And they kind of guided me down that track of like, every time I listened to a band, I was like, I really like this element from this band. And they were like, well, if you like that, try these bands.
Awesome.
And then slowly fell down the rabbit hole of stuff. And then eventually my sister had like a knockoff Strat that she never used.
Yeah,
and I had a push bike that I never used. So we swapped. So I traded the push bike for the guitar. And I was like 2 strums in. I'm like, yep, this is me forever now. I don't have other hobbies anymore. Everyone who I'm not a skateboarder anymore. I'm now just a guitar guy.
Yeah, It took over every aspect.
Yeah, pretty much. There's so
Yeah.
many days of faking being sick to stay home from school and practice.
Nice. Now, look, I mean, even tonight, as soon as you've turned the camera on, your guitar is in your hand.
Yeah, yeah,
Can't stop. Never stop.
yeah. Yeah, I might explode if I don't play for more than 3 hours.
No, that's great. So now Greyember, it's your newest and it's a solo project exploring a bit more of a progressive Black and Death kind of style. And you released your first EP, Blooming in Antarctica, in January this year, with the follow-up single Red Gum at the end of March. And I have to say, these are some fantastic releases. There's some
Oh,
really
thank you.
heavy, intense, and just very unique stuff. So, firstly, I'd love to know what inspired you to create this particular project and if you've set out with any particular goals.
Yeah, so yeah, this project's kind of like a spiritual successor to a band I had when I first moved to Melbourne, when I was still studying, called Illaturba, that sort of fell apart
Yep.
just from being like young and not knowing how to manage interpersonal relationships properly and like all of the things that happen when you're young and starting out a band.
Yep.
But a lot of this material was written, or at least started to be written in that period.
Okay.
And yeah, I just kept coming back to like listen to the demos like frequently, and because I liked the songs. But then started chatting to a dude while busking who came up like not too long. He came up to me not too long ago, and he asked about it. He's like, "Oh, is that project like ever gonna release anything ever again?" And I was like, "Oh, I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest." And that sort of stuck with me for a bit.
Yeah.
So I sat down with the demos and sort of reworked them a bit, musically to like, I'd learned a lot as a writer and a musician, since touching them. So I was like, I could probably work these to be a bit better.
Yeah.
And it's also a good opportunity to just sort of practice producing music. So like if I like, it's a good opportunity to explore new ideas that like I wouldn't necessarily have a chance to explore with
Yeah.
other groups. Yeah, so it's like I think it's a bit more exploratory than other projects, where it's like the goal is to see what happens.
Yeah.
More so so it's like it's not to sound a certain way. It's more like a, if I do this, what happen? Like what if I put this chord on top of that riff or like thing? Like, will that sound cool? I don't
Yeah.
know. Let's find out. Let's find it. Um, but a lot of the lyrical themes are just like, anytime I feel particularly passionate about something, I'll like make a note in like my phone app and be like, "Yeah, you're getting real fired up about this pretty often."
Yep.
Usually while out drinking with friends, it'll be like, yeah, you need like you start ranting about stuff, and you don't. It's like halfway through the rant, you're like, maybe actually I care about this a little bit more than I thought I did.
Yep.
Yeah, and I like sit with it for a bit and that kind of thing. So
Redirected into the music.
yeah, exactly.
Yes. So there are some really interesting themes emerging in the tracks you've already released. Would you like to share a little bit about those? Maybe, I mean, there's only 4 tracks so far that have been released. If you wanted to walk through each of them, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we could do that. So let me bring up the track list. All right, so we'll go chronologically, I guess.
Yep.
So Madness was the first one came out. I remember hearing someone say there's like a German word for it that like translates to call of the void, where
Okay.
it's like it like just being like suicidal thoughts, but like ones that you choose to ignore.
Yep.
And I wrote that during like a bit of a darker period in life where like that was happening pretty often.
Yep.
So this I was trying to get this I was trying to get the music itself to sort of capture that feeling of being like on the edge, but like talking yourself out of it. And
Yeah.
it's like the almost like a mental version of like the holder, like the tighter you hold on to something, the more it feels like it slips away. So it's like the harder you resist, the harder the voice yells at you, kind of thing. But like so there's that bridge in the middle where just screaming I persist, because it's just like at the end of the day, like
Yeah.
I saw some TikTok where a guy said a fucking banger of a quote where he's like, The demons persist, but so do I. And I'm like, oh God, if that's not motivating, I don't know what the fuck
Yeah.
is. Like,
Yeah. It's good.
so there's that one. Blooming in Antarctica is a track I wrote with Richard White from Grim Demise.
Yep.
Because we were out drinking one night and we had like a pretty frank discussion about like I would really love to be a parent, but I am very strongly worried about climate disaster.
Yep.
And I would hate to raise a kid in what could potentially be like Mad Max world kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like and
Yeah.
that terrifies the fuck out of me if I'm being like honest.
Yep.
And after having a few drinks together, like he expressed a similar concern. So like, all right, and then I've got a subscription to Nat Geo that I like. Read an article about flowers starting to bloom in Antarctica, and it's like that's so beautifully poetically destructive. It's like how can something as beautiful as flowers growing somewhere they shouldn't be like so terrifying?
Yeah.
So yeah, so we ended up writing that together. It was really cool because like I got a couple of it was a cool experience because I've got like a couple like ecology textbooks
Yep.
lying around the house, and we're like, all right, we've got to make sure that we're like saying actually informed opinions here,
So
like rather
went
than just throw
full
it.
nerd and
Yeah,
put it
yeah, and we
together.
got
Yep.
so we like we ended up reading a bunch of stuff and like lifted a couple of phrases like directly out of the textbook, which was
Yeah.
pretty cool. So like yeah, it's like passionate but informed.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really, really well done. And I think that, yeah, those sorts of concerns are really valid. And it shows with that there are less people that are having kids and having families. And everyone has their reasons. I'm a
Yeah,
also child free, and that would only be one part of
yeah,
why I choose that. But that is one part of it.
yeah.
100%. It's a scary world and it's only getting scarier.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I think like it's our nature to like if we're gonna have kids, like we want to give them the best,
Yep.
that kind of thing. But it's just like life is a little bit rough already, and like I wouldn't want to bring someone into something that's even rougher than that, and
Yep.
be like, a lot of my peers barely have the tools to figure out how to survive now. Like we're supposed to teach you how to survive in like the next less hospitable environment, like.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know how I'm gonna grapple with that in the coming future, but like at least where I sit now,
Yep.
that song's like a good representation of that.
Yeah.
Reflections, which is also off of that EP, is kind of like lamenting how difficult it is sometimes to like have backbone, I guess.
Yep.
Where like sometimes you get put into a position where the right thing to do and the thing that like you have the courage to do don't necessarily align.
Yep.
And like sometimes that's as simple as like it's like someone talks shit about your friend in front of you and you don't stand up for them. And other times it's like significantly more important things like showing up to a protest for like civil rights or something like that. And like I'm definitely not a perfect person, and that's like something that
No one can
I think
be.
about a lot is like how do I like how do you look in the mirror and be like, hey, did you actually do your best today?
Yep.
And I feel like I fall short of that pretty often. And so that song is just kind of like being upset at myself that like I'm not doing what I think is the right thing as
Yep.
often as I probably could. And yeah, I think other people will relate to it. Like relate to feeling that way sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was also an aspect of that when I was looking at the lyrics that felt a little bit like that also kind of felt like they could resonate from a creative perspective of being our own worst critics and always striving for perfectionism, but not being able to achieve that and being harder on ourselves about that.
Yeah.
but that was just a slightly different interpretation. But I
Yeah.
learned a new word from that one as well. I was
Oh, which one was that?
a telephobic. I don't know if that's how it's
Oh,
pronounced.
yeah, yeah,
I'd never
yeah.
heard that. I'd never heard that word before.
That's a good one. That actually, I'm stoked on that. Like one of my favorite lyricists is Danny Filth from Cradle of Filth.
Yep.
And I think like when I was a teenager, I learned like more new words from reading Cradle of Filth lyrics than I did from like the majority of books.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Well, there you go. You're achieving the same thing because I
yeah,
learned a
sweet.
new one.
I'll take that. We take those.
Nice.
And what was the last one I dropped
And
on
then
that?
the last one would be red gum.
Red gum. Yeah. So red gum is I haven't had it verified, but it's like a rumor that I heard. There's a bloke who was working FIFO out in the mines during Black Summer bushfires, and yeah, when he flew back in after being there for like a month or two or whatever, his home had burned down with his wife and kids in it. And so he killed himself because he's like, yeah. So I thought that was like a pretty intense story, which really fit.
Yep.
Like, because I wrote the music first, and I was like, I need lyrics that sound like like how intense the music is.
Yeah.
And I heard that, and I was like, that fits pretty well. But I felt like it was a good opportunity also to sort of bring attention to like Australian government and Australian councils consistent lack of resources for natural disasters that are uniquely Australian,
Yep.
which is something that frustrates the shit out of me. Like, I've never really grown up in or around particularly bushfire prone areas, but where I grew up is a floodplain, and it floods like
Yep.
every 4 or 5 years or something like that. And yet there's no countermeasures that are ever like it's been flooding there like every 4 or 5 years
Yep.
since it's been recorded, and yet there's like no provisions or like government plans or anything in the way to be like, oh, here's how we're gonna prepare for flood season because it happens consistently.
Yep.
Like, well, I just turned 30, so it's like flooded 6 times since I've been alive. Like, and there's records going back to like pretty close to the first fleet. Like, I don't know how people like they have all this money from taxes and they don't do anything to stop things like the consistent floods that happen or like the consistent bushfires. It's like and like Aborigines have figured out how to deal with this shit for like thousands and thousands of years
Yep.
without any of the modern tech that we have. Like I don't know why it's still a problem.
So it's funny. I actually met a few weeks ago, an ecologist. He's actually a fire ecologist, and he works with the oh, doesn't matter. But anyway, he's a fire ecologist, and he was talking me through, and that wasn't why I met him. I met him for something completely unrelated, but he ended up talking me through a lot of what they do,
Mm,
and what they have to do when they're planning the controlled burns and everything else. And it's full on, and it's really
yeah.
interesting stuff because they have to plan out, and they have to map out the impact it has on the animals and the trees. And you might have that some animals will thrive and their populations will grow right after a fire because they've
Mm.
got more of the little shoots and stuff to eat that make them really happy,
Oh,
and then they
true.
go and populate and they go, yep, cool, we've got so much food, and they'll rise while others will fall.
Yeah.
Whereas there's others, like say a lot of birds that rely on the tree hollows, which will only be
Mm.
there for certain periods after fires. And if the fires destroy them, then that wrecks it. So they've got to balance it all out. And then when it comes to the plants, a lot of our plants, because they rely on the fire to germinate,
Yeah.
but they have to be old enough first. So I think that he was telling me about like Banksias. I could be way off here, but it was like Banksias reach maturity at like maybe 15 years or something like that. So if the fires are done before they reach maturity, they're not
Like
going to
they won't
germinate
germinate.
and they're not going to have more Banksias grow afterwards. But there'll be other
Okay.
plants that are different. It's insane all the things that they have to try to consider and balance. But it was really interesting to see someone who kind of understood all that and trying to explain how it has to be planned out. And even
Yeah.
he said they don't usually get the resources that they need to do enough
Mm.
of them, but they're working on, and he's been part of trying to work on with particular groups improving that process. And it was, yeah, absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. Like, yeah, I do get very frustrated that it's like the people who have that much knowledge and information aren't the ones who are necessarily capable, like not capable, but like are the ones who are given the resources.
Yeah.
It's like some other dude's like, well, my friend works down the road and he
Yeah.
says he knows how to backbone, so I'm gonna give him the money. It's like, no, give it to the dude who knows what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You got to get the right people involved or it's worth nothing.
yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
Um,
We had bushfires here just at Christmas as well last year. So the forest that's right beside my house, you could see the smoke coming up. Because we're on the other side of the highway, we weren't evacuated, but everybody up the other side was all evacuated. We were just kind of on alert, but but they were pretty good. We got a lot of help down here, and it was controlled
that's
pretty quickly.
yeah, that's excellent. So
Yeah.
shout out to the people who did that.
Yeah. Oh, and it's awesome watching all the helicopters and stuff go. But again, like you said, it can just, there could be things done to improve that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
straight up.
Yeah. And I mean, we saw what happened with the Grampians. That was a hell of a lot more than what hit here.
Yeah, 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 damn.
Yeah. But that song is, yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah. On top of that, actually, Erin Blackie from Death of Art, so she did the guest vocals for the obviously the not my voice in the middle, so, which is
Yep.
pretty cool because like a lot of the time, well, I say a lot of time. There's only 4 songs out so far, but when I've got people to collaborate, I've just kind of got a section where
Yep.
like I'll be like, I'm familiar with how your voice sounds already, so this is the bit. Just do whatever.
Yep.
Cause like they're an artist as well. So
Yeah.
like if I wanted to, if I knew exactly how I wanted to make it sound, like I'd just do that myself,
Yep.
kind of thing. But like yeah, I know how your voice sounds. Just go for whatever. So like the notes that I gave Aaron was like this section is supposed to be like the guy hallucinating from grief that his like
Yep.
wife's ghost is talking to him and like convincing him to kill himself.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, so that's your note. Do whatever. And then
Yeah.
yeah, and then she sent the video back. Not a video, so she sent the audio back. Like maybe a week later, just like I hope this is what you had in mind. Like, yep, perfect. One take, easy.
Awesome.
So yeah, super easy to work with. Actually,
That's so good.
everyone who's been involved with this has been like really easy to work with.
Yeah, because so you mentioned before that you also had Richard White, and there was one other person too, wasn't there? Was it Reflections?
Yes. Yeah. Nikki Harrison. So she used to play for a band called With Witch.
Yep.
Which is funny as how we ended up meeting. So without knowing anyone in the band, I was like a fan of With Witch.
Yep.
I just thought they had cool sound. Like they dropped like 2 singles. And I kept trying to get them to play a gig with Dracorex because I thought it was like a good match.
Yep.
But I could just like never get a hold of them properly or anything like that. And then last year, Holy Diver Bar organized like a Halloween show. So
Yep.
we just got like a bunch of random musos came together to learn a bunch of Halloween themed songs. And
Awesome.
she was one of the singers for that. And then we got along then. And then at the actual, like during all the rehearsals and stuff, and then at the actual gig, well, like having a few beers together. I was like, "Oh, you're a really good singer. Like what projects are you involved with?" She's like, "Oh, I used to play for With Witch, but we just broke up." And I was like, "Oh, no fucking way." Yeah, then I think like the next day I was like, "Can you please be on a song?" Like, yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's been really cool meeting. I've also been using this like as a vehicle to reach out to musos around Australia who like I think are really cool. I'd
Yep.
be like, I don't have the time to commit to a full band with you, and probably neither do you. But if you want to be on like a song, and like so far everyone's just been like, yeah, fucking hell, let's do it.
That's awesome.
So I got a few more tracks to come out by the. Oh, actually, hang on a sec, I've got the list here. So five more songs before November.
Yeah. Okay.
And all of them but one have a guest performance by someone on there. So
Yep.
so I'm looking forward to just kind of showing everyone who pays attention to me how cool my friends are. Like,
That's great. That's so good. And are you planning on releasing that as another EP, or are they going to kind of come out as singles? What's the
Yeah,
plan
so
there?
so the plan is I'm going to do another 3-track EP with Red Gum being the first track
Yep.
on that, and then compile all of them onto an album together.
Yeah.
So it just got like the EP thing's mostly just to work like the algorithm for Spotify and stuff. Like you don't get noticed if you don't
Yeah.
upload semi regularly.
Yeah.
But in terms of like actual physical like stuff to look at, it'll be the full album at the end of the year.
Nice. That'll be really
Um,
good.
yeah, and then I've got some stuff written for that I'll start work on pretty much as soon as that's finished because it's a solo thing. I can't really tour for it or anything like that. So my theory is to just get immediately to work on like the next set of
Yep.
songs.
Yep. Just
Um,
keep getting music out.
yeah, that's it. And then if there ends up being demand for a concert, a few people have reached out to play live with me, so
Awesome.
I'll hit them up and see what happens.
It'd be interesting to see, yeah, how you go about it if you do proceed with something like that.
Yeah, I think I'll get everyone in balaclavas and
Yep. Yep.
balaclavas and jumpsuits.
Yep. Just don't do your shows in summer then.
Yeah, or suits of armor.
Yeah.
Oh, unrelated
Nice.
actually. Dream gig. I saw this thing on TikTok that I like. If anyone in the comments knows where I can find the people who run this, but I saw a video on TikTok of something in Toowoomba where they had like it was like a boxing ring, but dudes in suits of armor doing like a melee. But then they had like a
Amazing.
platform above it with a grindcore band playing.
What?
It was the most
In
insane shit I've ever
Toowoomba?
seen. Yeah, in Toowoomba. So if anyone knows who organized that or if it's happening again, get in touch with me fucking immediately because I need to attend that or be involved in some capacity.
If you
That is the
can
coolest
find
thing I've
it,
ever
can
seen.
you send it to me? I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to
yeah, I will.
investigate. That's
Yeah, or someone
right.
someone organized that here.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things we could do if we all had the time and money and venues to support us.
Yeah, damn straight. Yeah, it was the cool. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
That's so good.
I would
Oh, I love
probably
that.
I would probably cry from excitement if I was able for that.
Oh, and
Just weeping with a tin in each hand. Like life doesn't get any better. Like, oh.
fantastic. Yeah, who comes up with this shit? I love that.
Yeah, it's just so it's like those like you hear the meme of people like having their like being coked up and having like crazy movie ideas. I
Yeah.
sometimes wonder if like that's the same thing that happens in the like in the metal scenes. Like someone's had one too many beers and they're like, it'd be awesome for that we just had a wrestling match and then a band played. And you're like,
Yeah.
that is awesome. You
Yep.
should do that.
Well, I mean, didn't was it Private Function that had a wrestling match at one of their shows? Was it
I don't
last
know,
year?
but
Last
it's
year or the
fucking
year
sick.
before?
Well, I know Melbourne has Wrestle Rock, which is a good time.
Okay. I feel like it might have been like the Forum or something, but I don't remember. I didn't go. My brother did. But I think it was Private Function because they just go all out at some of their shows when they can.
Yeah, that's rad.
Yeah, but I mean, punk, like they're gonna go stupid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to share in terms of the creative process for you, whether that's the writing, the recording, and also the production, seeing as you do that yourself?
I'm willing to share anything. I just don't really know what people would want to know about, if I'm
I
being
guess,
honest.
is there anything in particular that you find most exciting about the process or that you find interesting?
I definitely, in terms of production, I think one of the most fun parts of that is like trying to make new sounds.
Yep.
So like I'm a big fan of it's never at the forefront of any mix, but I'm a big fan of getting random sound bites and then just mangling the shit out of them to see to just see what comes out. And then like if it sounds cool, you're like, sweet, that stays in.
Yep.
And then if it sounds bad, then like you delete it. Like for example, just before the big bridge drop where Aaron comes to sing in Red Gum, there's like the end of the lyrics come off and there's this sort of weird glitchy sound that's like
Yep.
and that was like the original audio like the vocal that was the vocal audio that came out got I put sent that out on like its own track and then ran it through a delay that then reversed and then put another delay on that, and then reversed that, and then bit crushed it, and then did like three or four other effects or something.
Okay.
I just kept putting stuff on it to be
Yep.
like, oh, what would happen if this was on it? And it ended up being like 12 or 13 effects like on the chain that all just had like s- all, like the equivalent of just like slapping knobs around kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, what happens if I turn this up and turn that all the way down and stuff.
Yep.
And then if it didn't sound good enough yet, I was like, all right, I'll try another thing. But what ended up happening is I tried to bounce the audio, and the computer froze, and I thought like the whole session was fucked. And then I like
Oh
reopened
no.
it, and it had bounced down as like this like rhythmic glitch thing, and I was like, excellent, in the
Nice.
project it goes. But
That's great.
but yeah, I really like when you're making music like that aspect of like just see what the fuck happens. Like,
And I guess is that like one of the plus sides of you producing your own music and doing that? You've got that, and especially being solo at the
yeah.
moment with this one, is you can do whatever you want and play around with any of those things and experiment.
Yeah, well, it's like it's not like you can't experiment in a group setting with people, but like
Yeah.
when you're on your own, it's like you're on your own time. So like
Yeah.
if I want to spend an entire day fucking with one sound bite until it sounds weird enough for me to be excited about it, like I
Yeah.
can. Whereas like if you're in a group, everyone's like, I've got, like netball in like 20 minutes, or like I've got cooking classes, or
Yeah.
I gotta go pat my dog.
Yeah.
Like they don't all, yeah, can't have one person at a computer mangling a soundbite with like
Yeah.
five mates there just waiting for you to be finished.
Yeah.
So I think the experimentation is like it's a different type of experimentation, I think.
Yeah. No, it's great. Like, and lots of freedom. I'm curious as well, when you're not working directly with others outside of the collaborations and the vocals that you've had involved, do you kind of get anyone else to listen over or anything like that to get some, some fresh eyes or ears on it? Because I
Yeah.
guess normally you'd have more people involved in the process.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a few friends that are like close enough where they don't pull punches.
Yeah.
And of like varying kind of levels of, I guess, music slash production knowledge.
Yep.
So some of them will be like their feedback will be like, I don't like it. It sounds too muffled or something like that. Like they don't really have like, or they'll be like, it doesn't have like a lot of energy in it, or like
Yep.
just that riff sucks. Which is like
Yep.
sometimes like it's not a lot of details to go on, but it's like it's honest feedback.
Yep.
And then other people will be like a little bit more like you got the producer brain, so they can be like, oh, you got like too much high end on these cymbals, or like the
Yep.
kick drums out of phase or something like that. But generally speaking, when I do show it to people, when they say they do or don't like it, I usually will try to get them to say why.
Yeah.
Because
If,
a lot of
if
the
it's
time,
just their taste, then that's a different thing, right?
yeah, because like a lot of the time, the I'm not writing songs for people to like them or not like them. It's
Yeah.
also to make them feel a certain way.
Yeah.
So like for example, Blooming in Antarctica, like I showed that to the singer of Dracorex, James, and he's like, yeah, that's really cool riff and stuff, but like don't ever show me that ever again. I was like, oh, why not? And he's like, because it's harrowing. Like it makes me feel like bleak and like there's
Yeah.
no future. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, well that's the feeling I'm going for. So that means like so I've
Yeah.
done what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I don't like the song, but he doesn't like it for the reason that I made it.
Yeah.
So it's like it's still doing the thing that it's supposed to
You've
do.
achieved exactly what you set out to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. So like when I get feedback from people, it's more along the lines of like, how does it make you feel
Yeah.
in that sort of capacity? Because they'll be like, oh, I feel excited. Like, oh, it was supposed to be a ballad that make you sad.
Yep.
I need to rewrite that. Like, yeah.
No, look, you've done a killer job. It's lots of different feelings, lots of different emotions and stuff that come through on it all, and it just sounds fantastic.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for taking the time to give it a listen.
So finally, before we finish up, where can people find and support your music?
The best spot for it would be Bandcamp.
Yep.
For the time being, I'll probably have a website up in the end by the end of the year, but for now, Bandcamp is definitely the way to go. Or to just find me on the streets of Melbourne having a busk. I do
Yeah.
perform all of these songs on Melbourne streets. Yeah, so come say good day. Yeah.
Awesome. And look, I'll make sure to drop all the links in the description of the episode as well so people can jump straight across.
Awesome. That'd be fantastic.
Thanks so much for joining me, Rick. It's always a pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah. Thanks once again for having me.
And thanks to everyone who's following along for this episode of Sin and Steel. If you enjoyed the interview with Rick, make sure to go and check out all of his many different projects. Hit the like and subscribe buttons and leave a comment letting us know what you think of Greyember. And until next time, stay metal.